Get Involved Referee is brought to you by Pressbox PR. Pressbox PR puts your brand on the map. From a chat over a pint to the headline of a website, Pressbox PR takes your brand and gives it the recognition that it deserves. With a proven track record with multiple clients, you'll be able to see your press go beyond the box with Pressbox PR. Check out pressboxpr.co.uk for more information. Hello and welcome to Get Involved Referee with Des Roach, Steve Conroy and myself, Lindsay Heron. Well, we're reviewing VAR Day. What a great day it was. Well, Friday night was quiet, lads. It was nice and easy. We all thought Hibs and St Johnstone might have caused some controversy, but no, we were right. Tynecastle was the place to be. It all kicked off there, Steve, and my goodness, so much to chew over. And really, I think the fans are just going to love this, aren't they? The drama, the excitement.
They'll love it for a while. They loved the first instance because it heightened it. It was exciting. Nobody'd seen it before. They wondered what was going to happen. But God, give it 6 weeks, people will be bored out their head, waiting for decisions to be made. Hopefully it won't come to that. My main bugbear for the weekend is that it was too slow. Mm-hmm. But that'll come with time and that'll come with confidence.
Penalty decisions, retakes, encroachments, goals not allowed. I mean, it was all happening, Des.
Yeah, always said the technology being there has to be used. It will take those little bits of time, particularly when the first time it goes live. There's going to be a little bit of apprehension in how to use it. But no, the very first game, Hibs St Johnstone went off pretty much as good a damn as they could expect and hope for. Mm-hmm. Kevin got all the decisions correct on the field. That was backed up by Willie in the VAR office off the field. Mm-hmm. So no, absolutely brilliant. And then obviously Saturday lunchtime, they've obviously kept their powder dry and let it start.
Most of the decisions, guys, seem to be the right ones, but there was one glaring omission which we'll come to in a minute. So just going through it chronologically, Hearts get a VR decision on the penalty incident. Carter Vickers on Devlin, which Nick Walsh didn't see at the time, and he was asked to review it, wasn't he?
Yeah, and quite rightly so. That was the first ever VAR on-field review that's taken place in Scottish football, and thankfully and correctly, it was correct. We've had a discussion about it, and we've spoke about it, and we've seen the pictures. Nick was just too square. He was directly in line behind the challenge. Carter Vickers is coming across from his left-hand side. Devlin's going ahead. He made the call. Unfortunately, he made the call wrong at that moment, but VAR then interjected, asked Nick to make the on-field review, and the correct outcome was delivered. So good teamwork, good decision. Hearts got the penalty, all correct.
Yep, no, I can't say anything different from that. Yep, Nick didn't see it, so couldn't call it. We moan about on here when people guess things, or we assume that they guess things, but Nick didn't see it, so he couldn't call it. And we've all been there, we've all been caught square. He should have had more of an angle on it and he would have seen it himself. But that's what it's there for. It's a new member of the team, and it worked fine on that instance. I
thought it was quite interesting that they put the monitor at the other side of the ground, at the Wheatfield stand side rather than the main stand. So he was away from the dugouts, albeit it was all Hearts fans over there, I suppose, but at least there weren't any technical staff leaning in to say, come on then.
I know, it must be awful when you're standing there and everybody's peering in at you. If they're not peering in at you, you can feel their eyes burning into your soul. Some interesting things flying about over there as well.
I think I said that a while ago. Why put it right next to both technical areas when it's like you're reading a newspaper and somebody's reading it over your shoulder? Stick it 10 yards further up the tunnel or over the other side where you can potentially get a bit of time to look at it. But no, it was the correct decision, and thankfully we moved on from that first intervention.
Yep. So got the first one right.
A VG for that one, a big tick, no problems. But then, just moments later, I think it was James Forrest actually tried to put the ball into the box, hits Michael Smith on his left arm. Nick Walsh doesn't give it, and Stephen McLean doesn't become involved. Why was that, Steve?
The only thing that you can say about it is that, well, it was wrong. Nick didn't see it. So again, we've just said, if you don't see it, you don't give it. I can't recall what angle that we saw Nick at, but he didn't see it. Or if he did see it, he assumed that it wasn't a deliberate handball. I have to say, I've got no idea why it wasn't reviewed or called for review. It was a clear penalty every day of the week. It's not just that he made himself big, he moved his hand towards the ball, and you saw by his reaction, he knew straight away that he'd been done. So no idea how that happened. No idea at all.
Yeah, as much as we've praised the first one for coming together and getting it correct, well, this one they've came together and got it wrong. Nick's made the initial call. I don't know if he's maybe thought, I use the word all the time, proximity or pace of the ball coming at him. Stephen's got the opportunity to look at it again, still frame, slow down, etc. As we said, Smith done nothing to take his arm away from the flight of the ball, so it's his responsibility to not have his arm in that position. And as soon as it hit him, I mean, it was like a naughty schoolboy being caught stealing a biscuit out of the biscuit tin. He's spun round as if to say, nope, nothing's happened, nothing to see. Everybody knew it was a penalty kick. And unfortunately, that one was called wrong.
And it was quite quickly, not given, if you know what I mean, Steve. It wasn't as if Nick spent a lot of time listening to what Steve had to say to him, I don't think.
It certainly didn't look like it. And again, we're kind of clutching at straws. We're from ignorance on this one. The assumption is that, I would hope, that Stephen had a look at it, but he's looked at it and thought it was so glaringly not a penalty that he decided instantly.
Only two things could have happened there for the communication. The communication is either no penalty, play on, or no communication, as in there's nothing even to decide here.
Yeah.
That's, to me, that's the only two outcomes that could have processed at that moment in time.
Absolutely, no, that must have one of those two, but they were both wrong. I think quite inexplicable, really. It's so glaringly obvious.
You could see the reaction from Mr. Postecoglou, who doesn't normally get too animated, but he was absolutely dumbstruck by it all.
Well, yeah, he was, and I won't even pretend to do the accent, not nearly as good as you, Lindsay, but pretty much saying, what do I know about it? Yeah, no explanation for it.
And then, I mean, exciting enough, but then of course we've got more drama in the second half with the second Hearts penalty award, which this time Nick gives, and it's validated by VAR as well. I guess first of all you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. It was a penalty all day long. Yep. Nothing wrong with that at all.
And then it comes to this whole encroachment scenario. We talked about this before because it happened in the Rangers-Napoli Champions League match. So even although the two Celtic defenders are in the box first, Josh Ginnelly got into the box at the same time as well, and he ends up putting the ball in the net. So that's how more encroaching could you be?
That's the whole point of encroaching. And it was the same scenario as the Rangers game. The two sets are both encroaching, so it's a replay. Where did I get a replay from? It's a retake.
They cancel.
So you don't caution or anything in those instances. You just retake it. Would that have been called without VAR? No.
Well, the only one that could call it would have been the far side assistant referee, and obviously we would be talking about it on shows like this or on television. But as soon as two players, as soon as either team has went into that penalty area prior to the kick being taken, all bets are off. It's going to be a retake. And actually, I know Ginnelly scored the rebound, but it probably worked in Hearts' favour that they scored without the rebound in Shankland.
Certainly worked in Shankland's favour.
Certainly, yeah.
Exactly. One little point on that though, was that challenge by Moritz Jens a yellow card offence? Do you agree?
Not for me.
What do you think, Ron?
No. Just because you foul doesn't mean it's a yellow card. So no, I certainly wasn't looking for it. It was a foul, got the penalty. That's more than enough. What
are you looking for your centre half to do? I mean, he never lunged in. He's stood up. He's stuck a leg out. The Hearts players, I'm not saying he's taken it, but there's been contact. It's a foul. If it happened 10 yards further back, the ball's down and it's playing before he can even think about it. So, yeah, it's a foul. It's in the penalty area. It's a penalty kick.
Agreed. Nothing beyond that.
No, definitely not a yellow. Just because he was on a yellow at the time, some Hearts people were thinking.
Oh no, you heard the shout, but no, absolutely not a yellow card.
No, that'd be extremely harsh.
If that's a yellow card, you're playing with 6 aside.
Yes, well, fair point. I mean, in the end, the penalty call that was wrong didn't matter because Celtic went on to win the game, so it didn't have a material effect overall. But what will be the kind of ramifications of that? What will be the sort of discussions, if you like, at HQ and the sort of debriefing of all of that?
Again, we're speaking from ignorance, but from what I understand, they've still got a match observer who is in overall control. So we now have the match observer is watching VAR, is watching the ref. They will still, both of them, be subject to disciplinary accountability. So if they believe the same as we did, that both got it wrong, the referee and the VAR will be downgraded because of that. That's if they agree with us.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantee of that.
No, listen, I know we are not the golden boys of the SFA, but I think that the vast majority of the football public and world can see the decisions that were very good and we back it and we support it. But the decision that was wrong, unfortunately, I think that is going to be looked at. And as we said, it's not getting to the detriment, it's just being held accountable. But it's like everything else in the first day. It's a learning lesson.
Absolutely, and hopefully that doesn't happen again. But the monthly meeting, or however frequently it is, quarterly meetings, that will be shown and that will be dissected, and on high will say this is how it should have worked. So they'll use that as an example.
It'll be used as a training point.
Yes,
an educational point.
So, fun and games at Tynecastle, as we predicted they would be. Off to Ibrox, Rangers, Livingston. And another interesting VAR intervention there, Des, because a yellow card's given by David Monroe for the challenge by Morgan Boys on Alfredo Morelos. But he's been told to go to the monitor to have a look at it, and he changes it to red. Correct decision in your view?
100% a correct decision. David has made a genuine decision, which he thinks at that moment in time. I think he's thinking that Boyce didn't catch Morelos just as high as it potentially looked. I think Morelos rolling around in the ground for his theatrics shows that it's not serious, because if something is that serious, then you're certainly not moving around. You're trying to protect yourself and protect your limbs. Greg has quite rightly said to David, I want you to have another wee look at this. David has went across, reviewed the incident, and quite rightly he's come up with a red card. It was a reckless and dangerous challenge. I think that's what we would bring that under. The ball had been playing away, and it was just enough severity, and not just enough severity, there was enough in that to be fully justified in being an ordering off. And the fact that David Martindale has commented afterwards saying that, well, it's a red card. Bit difficult for Livingston losing a player after he's only been on the pitch for 5-6 minutes or so.
Yeah.
It's the correct decision by the refereeing team, so well done to them.
Yep, no, I agree. And we're saying that that's serious foul play. It's serious enough. And I know there were stills going about. You can't tell anything from a still, but you got an angle where you could see it. But I still, we go on about people on here with their theatrics. I think that was quite, that was scurrilous, if that's the right word, for Mr. Morelos. If something's sore, the last thing you want to do is move it. So when you're rolling about like that, he might have been hurt in the initial tackle, and who wouldn't be with studs on your leg? But if you roll about like that, you know that there's nothing serious. The last thing you're going to do is move a sore bit.
Yeah, you can usually see them waving their hands, calling for medical attention straight away. Not that we're doctors, well, I'm not, but
one of us is.
One of us is. It's a red card. Morelos has over-egged it, and that's the correct decision has come to.
Yeah.
But it's another example of VAR getting involved and getting it right, and that's what we want to happen in this game.
Absolutely, that's exactly what we want. And that one was quite timious. That was quite quick. But given time, that will be an instant thing. We'll get better at it. The decision was right.
Well, what do we always ask for?
Get it right.
Get involved, referee.
Exactly. Nothing else untoward at Ibrox in a refereeing sense, but certainly plenty for the fans to get upset about on the pitch, apparently. But let's go to St Mirren Dundee United. Big moment in that one. I mean, St Mirren obviously went on to win the game, which was good from their point of view against Dundee United. But it's just the length of time. We talked about this before. The VAR looked at an incident where St Mirren score a goal, but they take it all the way back to an alleged foul on Kevin Backus catching Aziz Behish of Dundee United on the face as he wins the ball. Again, the challenge didn't look particularly dangerous, Steve, but it took forever to get back and find that point, didn't it?
I agree with both of those points, Lindsay. It didn't look much to me, despite, again, the reaction. It didn't look as though there was anything. But, how far back do you take it? And I know, again, there's no hard and fast rules. And I think Des has said that as far as he's aware, now, what was the wording? You start looking at it from when the attack becomes positive. Those kind of, when it looks as though a goal's likely. We said it the other week with the Man City one. That's just too long ago for me. At what point do you stop? And I know it's pedantic and it's maybe a bit facetious, but I would imagine that a goalie rolling the ball out to the fullback is going to take credit for starting a goal-scoring attack.
Well, exactly.
Well, from my understanding, my interpretation of it, it's not just when the team get the ball, as we said there, but the goalkeeper rolls through it. I think it's when the momentum and that attacking player pathway looks as, right, okay, it's kicked in now. Because we've seen play mill about the back and go back and forth. But as soon as that zip and tension and drive and positivity goes for it. So from that decision in St Mirren's game there, Backus gets the ball in the middle of his own half. To the ball then being in the Dundee United net, you're talking the phase of play of what, three passes maybe, 4 passes at max, 20 seconds. You're allowing the play to carry out. Grant's obviously deemed that he was quite happy to let play go on because he he didn't stop it. He's then Alan Muir, who was the video assistant referee, has called him back to look at it. My only contention is I don't think it's a foul. I don't think there's enough in that to stop the play. Not only that, where the foul occurred, not that this has got any or shouldn't have any interference in the referee's decision. The Dundee United bench was right in front of it. Not one manager, player, coach jumped out looking for it. I'm sure, if I'm wrong, I'm sure Liam Fox said in Sports Scene, we got away with one. So I think he's delighted to obviously not lose that goal at that time. It didn't have a bearing in the game later on, but there was no reaction to it. The time of play, I think this is going to be something that will come up more and more as the season goes on, and as we get a feel for how VAR works, is just how far do we take it back, how long is too long, or how long's not long enough. But I think that's a teething problem that they'll experience as we move along, and the guys become more experienced in using it.
Well, as we've got your understanding, you've spoken about that. So there has been discussions on how far back you take these things.
Yeah.
So if somebody's decided that when you flick a switch and it now becomes a promising attack, that's where you take it back from. That's what they've been told. So maybe Alan was right to pull it back, and that's what their instruction is. Come out and tell us what the instruction is so that everybody knows. But in my opinion, that's far too long ago to get pulled back.
It showed you on the BBC documentary last week, and it showed you the SFA giving a talk to the Motherwell players, and that's where I'm getting some information from. That's the way that the coach was talking about it, and I think they referenced the Celtic Ross County game when Callum McGregor won the ball deep in his own half against a Ross County player. Do you expect an attacking play to start 5 yards outside your own 80 penalty box? Probably not. But the speed of attack that Celtic then went to and the transition of play made that an attacking opportunity. So I can understand it there, but I'll also be able to understand other times where maybe he's won the ball, if Callum McGregor in that instance won the ball and just fire the ball over to the right back to say, right, slow down, let's keep control of the ball again, let's move. Ross County might not touch it for 10 passes. Then I would have the ambiguity of saying, right, when did that phase of play start? But I think it's something we're only going to find out as we watch and experience it.
Do you think Alan was maybe a little bit overzealous, Steve? For game one, he's wanting to make sure he gets everything right, and
I think everybody was wanting to get everything right on that first day. That's why it was taking so long. Maybe that's why we were involved in things that maybe we shouldn't have done. But I can't tell you what Alan's been instructed to do. He might have carried it out, and I know Alan. Alan will carry it out, as he's been instructed to do. Alan's not. He's not a theatrical one. He's not one that likes to make himself the centre of attention. So I'm assuming that Alan's done exactly as he was instructed. As a personal opinion, I don't like it. I think it's just far too long that you pull it back for, and it's turning it into rugby where you just play advantage. I don't know where the cut-off is, but the advantage rule, 2 or 3 seconds, seems okay to me.
That's what it was always. That's how it always was when we refereed. We would see something develop, give it 2 or 3 seconds, nothing's happened. Okay, right, we'll come back and we'll give the initial foul. As I say, I think we'll need to be educated on it.
Well, Aberdeen had VAR to thank for their opening goal up at Pittodrie because I think the linesman had flagged for an offside against Bojan Majowski, who scored again for the Dons, but VAR, decided it was a goal, and again, they've intervened the right way, Des.
Absolutely, and it's a brilliant positive impact they've had on that game, and it was really, really good to see Ewan Anderson and the video assistant referee making that call, because teams shouldn't be detrimentally impacted because of a refereeing wrong call. That should be taken away now. We've got the technology to make sure that teams are benefiting from a positive call or a wrong call, that we get it right. And I'll tell you what, the boy Majowski, he's certainly making a name for himself. I think Aberdeen might end up making a few quid out of him.
So that was a good one. But Motherwell most unhappy. Stevie Hamill felt they should have had a penalty late on. Looks like Ricky Lamy was pulled to the ground by Anthony Stewart, tussling in the box. But no decision and no review. Yeah,
it's subjective. It's an opinion. But I thought the whole point, or part of the point of it, was penalties. I know it's specific incidences that you're called for. So a foul at the halfway line, unless you think somebody's a red card, you're not getting involved. Did a throw-in go the wrong way? You're not involved. But for things like penalties, that is something that should be reviewed. Every one of them should be looked at. So I agree. If there's a potential penalty incident, that's one of the things. It's a barn door. You should be looking at that.
I don't know why it wasn't looked at, because what they have got the cameras. That's what they've been working on. Everybody could see the strip getting taken back to Aberdeen for the weekends. It was fully off him, and I know it happened right at the depth. And you could see Jim Goodwin saying to the fourth official, "Is that it? Is the game done? Is the game done?" As he's looking to shake hands and run up the tunnel.
Yeah.
But that VAR should still have been called to say, "No, wait a minute. Yeah. The game continues till you can extend a match to take a penalty kick." So, do you know what? Take the time. So maybe Aberdeen get away with one there.
I think they did.
So basically, overall, it's just been two big penalty calls that have maybe gone the wrong way. The first one didn't cost Celtic. The second one did cost Motherwell. So I mean, they could have come out of there with a valuable point.
Well, that's what we've said from the beginning, that things change. This week's different from last week, and it's costing people points. And I know you pulled me up the other week when I said it didn't matter when Celtic won 6-1. Who's to know that Celtic needed that other goal from the penalty come the end of the season?
Yes.
It's not looking like it, but if they did, then that decision could cost. So yeah, we can be a bit facetious and say that some things it really didn't matter, but we should be getting it. We should be getting it right, and that's what the technology is there for. Yeah, we'll get better. We'll use Mr. Maxwell's words. I don't think it was horrendous.
No, I think it will cost teams at the bottom of the league more than it will cost teams at the top of the league, because it's so tight and so bunched that they literally are fighting for every point, every pound, every penny. So I think it will come in there. But I think that as a refereeing movement and the refereeing department should be pretty happy with themselves this week. I think, yes, a lot to improve and a lot to make the product a bit more slicker, a bit more smooth. But as a test run and as a first goal, I think they'll be happy with it. And credit where credit's due. Easy enough to give people a hard time, but no, I think overall it was a good introduction, and it will only get better.
You mentioned the length of time it took, particularly in the Tynecastle game, for decisions to be reached, if you like, and the fans are sitting about in the dark. All they can see is a small screen saying VAR review in progress or whatever. So there's that kind of uncertainty that takes forever. My question to you guys is, why don't they stop the clock when they're making decisions? When I was at Ibrox on Saturday, and there were 5 minutes played extra in the first half, and 7 minutes played extra in the second half. So you're playing a 102-minute game, and that's mainly due to some VAR checks. And certainly with the Hearts-Celtic game, it was the same. And there are a load of extra time in both halves because of that.
You can't stop the clock every time the play stops, or you literally...
No, just when there's a VAR intervention. Because that's taking up 2 or 3 minutes of the when nothing's happening.
The way that they're thinking of it is that that's part and parcel of the game. So the game continues. But yeah, I can't disagree with what you said. I think Martin Geisler was on the radio this morning saying he missed a family function, or was late a family function at the weekend because the Hearts game overran by about 3 hours. So it's going to, until we get quicker at it, time's going to roll on, but we will get quicker at it. But they're saying it's part of the game.
You've seen it in particularly Italian football and foreign football. They do. You're now seeing like added time, 12 minutes and things like that. Games extending. So I can only assume that in the initial outset we'll be the same, and it'll just get smoother. But
it's just because other sports, they stop the clock. Like the NFL or rugby league, they get able to stop it when they're making these calls. I think it might make it a bit slicker. I don't know.
But we've said before on here, certainly things like rugby is a stop-start game.
True.
You're expecting.
So is the NFL. Right?
Yeah. So it's a play, stop. You don't get that with football.
No.
So when you're sitting watching the Warriors on a Friday, you're expecting the TMO for everything. So the time to stop, but not in football. Football carries on. And
it would also need to be a decision that comes from FIFA to change the laws of the game to do that. Yeah. And therefore it would have to be unilateral across every country in the world. So we'll get there. Football's never been a game that's played to the clock as such. Yes, you've got a 90-minute match and it's up to the interpretation of the officials how much they add on. This is just a continuation of that, I would understand.
And do you feel it was equitable across the board, in the sense that obviously some stadia have got better facilities than others? I mean, there was a 6-camera crew at each game for sure, but it seemed like it worked in the same way at each ground.
Oh, it seemed okay. Although I've seen and read some things that already people are saying that VAR's going to advantage one particular team over another. Nonsense, absolute nonsense. Punters pay their money; they're allowed to come out with whatever nonsense they want.
That's it.
So overall, a successful first outing for the technology, but better to come?
Better to come. Good start. Steady start. Couple of mistakes. Probably not as many as we all thought that there were going to be. And we're human. You're going to make mistakes. We've said all along that VAR isn't a panacea. And we don't want it to be.
No.
You don't want sterile football. What is there to talk about? But it's there to get rid of as many errors as we can do. And that was a good start.
And they still haven't taken up our idea, Des, of having advertising right across the VAR screen for the 3 minutes that the punters are watching it. I know.
And I even seen the pedestals that they were using, the boxes that were using. It was like a airport check-in desk. I'm surprised they didn't have something up the side of that, because there again, your people are looking at it. TV cameras are on it. You're looking at it. There's a money earner for you.
They're missing a trick.
That's it. You have my email.
Well, thanks for listening to this week's episode. We'll join you again next time on Get Involved Referee. Remember to send all your questions to us on our Twitter and our Instagram accounts. See you next time.